All right, what's up, Yardies? And welcome everybody to the premiere episode of the Backyard Variety Tour. Our first guest on the show ever is the Daveness, aka Davie Cal, aka Davie Cal's Beard, aka Carl, member of 8-Man Madness, and going to be one of our correspondents going forward here out of Rockland, Ontario, outside of Ottawa. And Davie Cal is a brewmaster for Broken Sticks Brewing Company. And he gives us a tour of the brew house, and we talk a lot of things from hockey, the entertainment industry, island cabins, Scotch Whisky, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and beer, of course. So stay tuned for the premiere episode of Backyard Variety Tour featuring Davie Cal.
And so I got some nice, because I'm like behind me here, I'm trying to turn it into like a studio and shit, kind of like just do odd little pickup jobs on the side for fun, or just my own stuff. Like I'm planning on putting a green screen, getting like a couple of grip stands to hold like a green screen, and I could do like photography or headshots for myself or self tapes or any of that kind of shit. But so it's just kind of like office booze to have on standby in case you got something to celebrate or whatever. So
little madman kind of
yeah, yeah, just something fun to have, you know. And so I got some Johnny Walker Gold, and had some of that. It's good. And then I was just doing research, and I was like, what are some good? I don't even know what I typed in. It wasn't like what's the best Scotch, but it was something. And this one Chivas Regal, and I was like, oh, I've seen that before, but I've never ever tried it. So I got it, and I hadn't opened it for a long time, and I just cracked it the other night, and now it's almost gone. So
so it's that good.
And then yeah, I guess so. And the funny thing was after I got it, I watched a movie called Cutter's Way from like the 70s or 80s. This like really sleeper film noir detective kind of movie. And in one scene, Jeff Bridges cracks out the Chivas Regal. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, or Chivas or whatever. And he cracks it out, and I'm like, no shit. So this has been around forever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, that must be pretty good shit. So it says age 12 years. Doesn't say any blended Scotch whiskey. I don't know about malts or whatever.
Yeah, so it's either a blend or a single malt. So that one's a blend, but it's
gotcha. So it's a blend.
From my understanding, it's a good blend. So
sweet. Yeah. And then the Johnny Walker, and then because I don't do too much beer. I don't drink too much beer.
Okay.
But I definitely want to get some. Can you send some of yours in the mail?
Yeah.
I'll buy some. I'll buy some online or something, and then I'll get some sent to me because I do want to try some.
Sure. Yeah.
But I stick more to the liquor. So I got some Jamie, some gin. I need more stuff like Jamie, like just kind of like the Irish whiskey or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Because I go through that pretty fast, and sometimes I don't always want to dive into the Scotch, you know.
No. For like a slight step up from Jameson, you could try the Red Breast. It's another Irish whiskey, which is really good.
Oh yeah. I'll write it down.
What about bourbon? Do you like bourbon?
No. I've tried like Maker's Mark. That's bourbon, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. So if you don't like that,
I know, and it's just not for me. I just don't like the taste. I can't drink a lot of it. I can maybe have like one and be like, bourbon, okay.
Yeah.
Red Breast.
Yeah, Red Breast.
Oh, I'm writing this note. I gotta get out of here. I'm writing this in my like work notes. What's going on here? And then I kind of searched some tequila. So I ended up with this. See, I haven't even opened this one yet. Milagro. I guess there haven't been enough things to celebrate.
Yeah, cool.
Milagro something, but I don't even really drink tequila, but it's just kind of one to have just in case. A couple wines. The wines are more to like give to people. Like I visited Francis in North Bay somewhat recently. I brought him a wine because he basically was grilling a bunch of burgers and stuff like that. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What's your fridge stocked with for booze? Beer?
Mostly beer. Before COVID, I had a pretty good Scotch collection. I had like 2 or 3 different Scotches. Lagavulin is one of my favorite. Kind of has a nice.
That's on my list because I wrote down.
Yeah.
I wasn't buying everything at once. So I was like, well, I'll get a Johnny Walker. I'll get the Chivas. But that one's on there. See if I can find my list.
That's what who's the guy on Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec.
Aziz?
No, Nick Offerman. Nick Offerman.
Yeah, that's what he drinks. And he loves it.
Yeah, like the man guy.
Yeah.
Ron Swanson.
Yeah. I kept thinking like Ron Burgundy. I'm like, no, that's not right.
Oh my God, I made a Ron Burgundy, not even a joke, but I was just like throwing an offhand line, and it was a Zoom meeting with like 16 people for work. It was like yesterday or this morning. And in one of the scripts we were talking about, one of the kids picks up a flute and starts playing it. And there was this like long pause, and I was just like, Ron Burgundy style. And like a couple of people smiled, but it was mostly crickets, and someone was like, crickets. And I was like, no one appreciates the Ron Burgundy scene. Like, you're crazy. He fucking is dancing on tables, and my God, the place erupts.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you say that? Lagavulin?
Yeah, Lagavulin.
Lagavulin, 16 years. See, I wrote some of this shit down.
It's a bit expensive, but it's definitely a nice one to sip on.
Yeah, that's probably why I didn't buy it right away. Because I think, like, even though Johnny Walker Gold, people were like, ooh, it's not that expensive. It was like $90.
Yeah.
For what's, like, that's not, to me, that's like maybe a medium price Scotch, something like that.
Yeah.
And same with Chivas. It was like 70. I was like, okay, I'll start with these 2 and work my way up, try some different ones. I also got Ardbeg on here. You ever hear that?
Oh yeah, that one's real smoky. It's really nice if you're into smoky Scotch.
See, that's on the list to try. I did some reading and research, and I kind of I didn't pick everything, but Ballantine's, I heard of that. I'm pretty sure I've tried it along the way somewhere, because I think that's like a lower class Scotch.
Yeah.
That's like a stock.
Yeah. If you want that kind of Scotch, I like J&B. It's like a cheaper one, but it's like your day use Scotch, I guess.
Gotcha.
Your day drinker.
Yeah.
It's cheap, and it does the job, I guess.
I've heard of that one. Aaron Robert Burns, and Aaron spelled Arran. You ever hear that?
No, I haven't heard that.
Maybe I should try that one.
Yeah.
And then Macallan, 12 years.
Yeah, that's a pretty standard one.
Glenlivet, I know is standard. That's probably why I didn't buy it, but 15 years. I don't know if 15 years is their standard. Maybe I was looking at a special one.
Yeah, that would be a special one. Usually their standard's 12, I think.
Cool. And then I don't know if this was a typo or if this is actually what it is, but Kilchoman. It would have probably corrected it to something else, so it's probably Kilchoman.
Yeah, I've heard that one. I haven't tried it.
2012. Yeah, 2012. Why did I write down 2012? 8 years. That doesn't seem. When I first worked.
Some of them are 2012, but maybe it was the best one of 2012.
And then Oban Little Bay. So I've definitely tried Oban.
Yeah.
My cousin's a big Scotch drinker, and when he used to show up to Lop Lops at Christmas, we'd always have some Oban. So I've definitely had some of that. I don't know if Little Bay is the full name or if that's a specialty version.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Then
they always have different types.
Nice, yeah. Then tequila Patron, which is pretty standard, which I still have some like end of. Class Azul. I don't know what the hell that is. I probably won't be diving into the tequila. This Milagro one seemed just kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then tons of beer. Oddly enough, for beer, I wrote down a Grassroots Sleeping Giant Brew Co., which might have even spawned the idea for the title of Backyard Variety Tour. Although I did hear Backyard somewhere, and I was like, oh, Backyard. I was like, that's kind of.
Yeah. Like, that's a cool, it's a pretty cool name.
So what's going on, man? Are you in the brewery right now?
I'm in the brewery. Do you want to take a tour?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know. Is there a way I can flip the camera, or no?
I
don't know if you could do it in here. If I tap my face. Oh, this might do it.
Let's see. I got a little button up here. Pin host.
I think I did it.
Oh shit, you got it.
Right. Now I can actually see what you are seeing.
That's awesome.
All right. So Actually, let's start at the beginning over here. So here's my messy desk. This is where I create beer. Come up with all
It looks
the
like a
concepts.
mad scientist desk.
Yeah, kind of. Sometimes I draw pictures and put them on the wall. But over here is our raw ingredients. So this is our malt. So I'll take a little handful of this. This one's called just basic churro. So this is like the basis of all beer. It just looks like little grains. And so from that, you get a bunch of different flavors and sugars for your beer. And so I got a bunch of different types from Germany. This one's from Canada, Germany, where else? So England, we get a few malts from. But
what do you find the differences?
It depends on which one you want to go with. So the Canadian one's going to be really plain and there's not much flavor to it, where you get the German ones have a little more character to them. And then the British ones are more nutty. And then you can add more malts, darker malts, so you can get more chocolate and coffee flavors. You can also get caramel flavors from certain malts. There's tons out there. There's also smoked malts, so you can get a little more smoke character in your beer if you want it. Lots of different things to play with. This is my cart. I just move it around, have a little pH meter and different measuring devices to make sure the beers are staying in the specs that I want them to be. Nice little cart.
Sweet.
This is my my mill. So the grain comes with it's all together, and then I need to crack the grain open to expose the inside of it, which is where the sugars will come out. So just run it through the top in there. There's some rollers down there. It's really loud and dusty, and it'll crack all your grain. And it takes, to get ready for a brew, it takes about half hour, and then you're ready to go. So from there, we'll come over to the brew house. So here's our brew house. It's a 4-vessel brew house. And what we have is, here's the mash tun. So this is where you put the grains in. Once you crush it, you'll put it inside there and you'll fill it up with water and you kind of make a malt tea. And at a certain temperature, it enacts some enzymes. And then those enzymes will convert all the starches that are in the grain and it'll convert them to sugar. So that takes about an hour in the mash tun. And then from there, I use hoses like these ones. They're hanging all over the place. And then we pump them over into the kettle, which is over here. So we have 2 kettles. And each one of those, we heat them up with a burner. I don't know if you can see in there. Kind of hard to see. But anyway, it's just a burner like you'd have for a turkey fryer. Gets really hot in here. One day I got it up to 51 degrees, which was not comfortable at all. But generally it stays around 30 degrees, which is not too bad.
What's the reason for the increased temperature?
I had 2 burners going at the same time. It's a pretty small little area, and it just like the heat coming off of there. It's not the most efficient way to make beer, I guess, in terms of heat transfer. So a lot of the heat would just escape from the bottom and go into the room, so it would get real hot. And so after you boil your beer for about an hour, during that boil, you'll add different hops. The reason why you add hops is 1, to add bitterness, and 2, to add different flavors. So a lot of the newer hops have citrus and tropical fruit flavors, and a lot of the older hops and German hops and British ones have more floral and grassy kind of flavors.
Old school.
Old school. That's what I like.
Old school, and then the other one sounds new school.
Yeah, that's all the hype beers. You get all the tropical ones. Here's my little pump. So this pump I use for cleaning different vessels and also for pumping beer from our kettles over here. And we'll pump it over this way. So when it's leaving the kettle, it's at about 92 degrees Celsius. And then we go through this heat exchanger, which will take it from 92 and bring it down to about 20 degrees. And it does that over about a half hour. So we'll pump it through here, and then we end up into one of these fermenters. And this is where the beer lives for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Once we add yeast, it'll start turning into beer, and it'll start bubbling. So here's one.
When do you start adding yeast?
Right after we add it to the tank. Basically, while we're adding to the tank, we'll add the yeast. And you can see here that this one's bubbling. So what's happening is the yeast is converting the sugars, it's eating the sugars, and it's turning into one byproduct is alcohol, and the other byproduct is CO2. And what you see here is CO2 escaping from the tank. So that's a good sign. It means that the beer is fermenting away.
Sweet. And is there a way, is there a way to know maybe other than like nozzles or a dial on the thing, like if it's bubbling, how do you know when it's ready?
You'll take a measurement. So I'll, from the sample port here, we'll take a bit of measurement, and then we use a device called a hydrometer, which just measures how much sugar's remaining. So we know how much sugar we put into it at the start. So we'll know it's at whatever gravity. And then while it ferments, the gravity will slowly decrease until it stabilizes, and then we'll know it's done. So based on some math, here I can show you. Here's a graph of, I'll show you a better one. Here, you get a better idea of what's going on. So here's the initial gravity is up at 15, and it slowly drops. And then I change temperature on it, and then it stabilizes at the bottom there. Yeah. So that's the finishing gravity. So based on the difference between the 15.5 and I got down to 4.5, knowing the difference there, I can calculate how much alcohol is in the beer.
It's just like that graph reminds me of babysitting. You're just babysitting. You know what I mean? You're babysitting that beer.
Yeah, I just give it the right conditions to survive, and it does the rest. Just like babysitting. So yes, it'll stay in these tanks for about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, unless it's a lager, like the one I showed right here. This is actually the New Zealand Pilsner. Nice. And it'll stay in this tank for about 6 weeks.
That's the one you just brewed. Is that? Can we say the name?
We haven't officially said the name yet, so
all right.
I gotta get it approved.
Keeping it secret. Keeping it secret. Well, that's hot. That's a hot topic.
But maybe we'll release it on the show. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
So after about 2 weeks, unless it's a lager, and then it's a bit longer, we'll transfer it over from our fermenter, which are these tanks, into the bright tanks over here, where it'll condition a little bit longer, usually about 5 days. In the summer, it only lasts about 3 days in there, just I need to pump out beer as quick as I can. And the idea here is that you put it into here and it conditions. So generally, when you transfer it, it'll be very yeasty. And when I put it in here, I'll add a clarifier, and it'll clarify over the next 3 to 5 days. And then I'll also add CO2 to carbonate the beer, so that when you drink it, you get that nice spritz.
Nice. Spritz is good.
That's about it. So in total, we have 9 tanks here, and currently I have 7 of them filled. So I'm pretty full up here.
Yeah, pretty set.
Which is good, because beer is flying off the shelves pretty quickly. So
yeah, you're saying that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then over here is our canning line. So we pull right from the bright tank into our canning line. And it's a 2-head filler. So you just take 2 cans and put them on there, kind of like that. And it'll fill it up. And then we put it in the steamer, where you put the lid on top. And these things kind of pinch the lid on top. And it spins and it covers you in beer.
Sweet.
It's a lot of fun. And that's basically it.
That's sweet, man.
Yeah.
That's a great tour.
Oh, and then we have some kegs. So those are going to be cleaned tomorrow and then packaged. So
what kind of beer? Do you have any beer on standby there? Anything in cans or anything to show?
Not here at the moment. I have some out in the restaurant. Yeah, I can show you the fridge real quickly.
Have you been taking up any golf at all since you've been there? Or you've been too busy brewing?
Too busy
brewing, eh?
Yeah. So
like
here's
you said,
our
just a high demand.
This is our restaurant. So we're in phase 3 now, so people can eat inside.
Sweet.
And then here's our beer fridge. So we got a bunch of different beers. We got Crossroads, our sour IPA. We got Hope You're Hoppy, is our IPA. We ran out of labels, so we made these like cheap ones for New England style pale ale. So we got.
That's a good sign.
Sure. Yeah.
Beer's flying off the shelves.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Today it looks pretty good. It's pretty full. Usually it's empty. So, but yeah.
That's great, man. Yo, so how do you feel about the NHL playoffs?
I am super excited. I cannot wait. I've been struggling without any sports on for the last little while.
Yeah, it sucks. I saw this comedian, Sam Morrell. He was like, I love SportsCenter and all, but I need sports back in my life because I can't keep watching TSN and just watching like gamers play sports because that's what they were showing at the time or whatever. I was like, yeah, man. Yeah, to be honest, I've been keeping up with, the way I've been feeding that is keeping up with this YouTube guy, the hockey guy. He's insane. He drops like 4 or 5 videos a day and he just talks hockey. And it's insanity. Yeah, I love the guy. And he's like, to me, he's underrated, super underrated. He's only got like 147,000 subscribers, but I'm like, the amount of videos and stuff he's dropping and just the knowledge. And he's not really a homer for any team. He's got all his jerseys and he wears a different team for whoever he's like feeling that day.
I think I've seen that guy. Does he have the whiteboard? Is that the guy?
Yeah. He goes through the whiteboard and I mean, he does certain videos that are just too deep for me. I'm like, I don't really want to know this, but he does other ones that are great. I love him, but you got to respect it. I respect him a lot. Sick. He's sick at it.
I'm a big fan of the Steve Dangle podcast.
Yeah.
So he does his like leaf reaction videos. I'm not a big fan of those, but the group with the 3 of them get together with Adam Wilde and Jesse Blake. And yeah, that's a great podcast. But I've been watching it and they have nothing to talk about lately, so it's tough to watch.
Yeah. You might have to go to old videos sometimes. The NHL still posts like, they posted one I watched the other day. It was like penalty shot, OT in the playoffs. There was like a montage of that. And one cool thing, it was like the video was like 15 minutes and right near the end, it was like 14 minutes and 10 seconds left. I caught a glimpse of one of my dad's good friends, my Uncle Paul. And he was assistant coaching with Teddy Nolan at the time in Buffalo in like 98 or whatever, because they knew each other from back in the day in the Sioux, Greyhounds and stuff like that. And they were playing the Flyers and Lindros gets tripped on this breakaway and OT and Steve Shields came out and like made a fool of himself. And so he gets the penalty shot and Lindros scores. And then it just cuts to my Uncle Paul on the Buffalo bench go, fuck, Jesus Christ, or whatever. He just like slams his shit. He's all pissed. I'm like, oh, that's great. I had to send it. So there's still some good stuff. But yeah, they're running out of material. I've been watching, just because I've never watched it before, that Steve Dangle. I've been watching some of those old trade tracker or whatever he does.
Oh, the trade trees, yeah.
Trade trees, yeah, those are kind of interesting, just to see what kind of went down. But are you still keeping up with the Isles?
No, I'm diehard Leafs. So
diehard Leafs.
Yeah.
You've abandoned the Isles altogether.
Yeah. That was just my NHL.
That was a phase.
Team. Yeah, I think J-Man was. He was the Leafs, so I couldn't be the Leafs. I had to get some other team, and I picked the Islanders.
Gotcha. So you're diehard Leafs.
Yeah.
So what do you think about everything going on there?
I'm pretty excited. They usually start off like really well every year, the last couple of years, and then they once everyone kind of catches up and figures out their systems, then the Leafs don't do very well. So I think with everyone kind of like hurrying to try to figure out their systems, hopefully the Leafs could take advantage of that.
Who do they play in the first round? Not Boston, is it?
Columbus. So
Columbus. So
kind of a wild card team, like
it's a wild card. I was just gonna say because everyone's gonna be like, oh, we're gonna walk all over Columbus, right? But didn't Columbus beat Pittsburgh or something last year?
They beat the Lightning.
Or maybe that was beat the Lightning.
It wasn't even just like beat them; they swept them.
They swept them. So 4 in a row. So yeah, so they are for sure a wild card.
Yeah.
So the Leafs are interesting. I don't really pay I kind of know what's going on there. Everyone just keeps talking about their cap issues because they're paying their top 8 guys everything in the world. But I watched something with Brian Burke, I think it was Spittin' Chicklets, where he said he didn't think their defense, or they weren't big enough or something like that.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. But
mantra, I guess. Gotta be bigger, more truculence.
I wonder. I'm super excited for the playoffs in general.
Yeah,
it starts in Dallas, they actually get a bye. They're part of that bye.
They got a bye. Oh wow.
Well, they're part of that like wild card bye or something like that, or they're not in the like we need to make it. They're
Right,
in.
Yeah,
They're in, and I think they play. Shit, I can't even remember who they play in the first round. Oh, because I don't know yet. I think I
Yeah,
don't
you
know
won't
yet.
know. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's kinda
they have
exciting.
problems.
You get to scout the other teams.
I'm excited for them this year for the sake that they've had such a crazy year and they were so close last year. So
Right. Yeah.
I don't, hopefully I think people know how close they were last year, where essentially they went to game 7 double overtime against St. Louis and lost by a goal. It could have been them right there or very close to it anyways. So I think they have a chance, but they did have a crazy year because they started off terrible. They lost their like first 9 or 10 games. Then they had that coaching meltdown where he pretty much was fired. He was fired for being involved with like alcohol abuse, but they kind of preemptively, they got ahead of it kind of thing. They fired him before it was a problem, or like it was a secret problem. It wasn't a public problem. And then Rick Bowness came in and he's been top notch since. I love Rick Bowness.
Yep.
He's amazing. But he's even on like an interim thing. And I mean, Tyler Sagan only has 50 points this year. So it's like a weird year because it's like.
So who's scoring all the goals then?
It's a collaborative effort.
Or?
It's a collaborative effort. And that's why I think, no, Jamie Benn's having like a terrible year. His past couple of years have been terrible. But for some reason, I think they can figure it out because it's the rest of their team. It's really a balanced effort there. They have 4 complete lines and good goaltending and good players at forward defense and goalie. So I like their chances. No matter who they play, but who knows what's going to happen? It could just be a crazy year.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You need to get a hot goalie and then it's, no one can get past you. Like who knows? Like Carey Price could just become a wall and Pittsburgh can't go anywhere,
That's who they're up. Leafs are against Columbus. Who's Columbus even have? Who's Columbus goalie?
I don't know, but whoever it is, they played really well.
Is Tortorella coaching Columbus?
Yeah, still Tortorella. They don't have Vasilevsky anymore, or not Vasilevsky. Who's the other
Varlamov? Is it Varlamov?
No, not Varlamov. Man, I can't think of his name. Bobrovsky. Name every other Russian goalie. Yeah. But yeah, they've been doing really well.
Sweet, man. Well, Davo, it was a good tour. I'm going to order some of that Broken Sticks online to my place.
Yeah, sounds good. I can send it out to you.
That's sweet. Because normally if I'm having some beer, what I would really like is one of those fridges that's like, what's that show? Crips, where you open it, it's just Gatorade and like beer.
Yeah, just that.
And at a point, basically what I was buying for beer was cold shots. Remember those small little.
Okay, yeah.
And I just kind of crushed those as like a little pre or something like that before.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I think I'm going to have J-Man on here. You should do maybe some beer reviews too, if you want, of like beers that you guys got going. I think J-Man was going to do some beers in August.
Oh, cool.
Just from like random LCBO or whatever. But if you got some of your Broken Sticks.
Yeah, I could do like an Ottawa review, I guess. Do a little brewery tour.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Okay. Well, buddy, what do you got going on for the weekend coming up? Anything?
Friends of ours have a cabin on an island, and they gave us the keys basically. So me and my wife and my dog are gonna head out there and hang out on an island.
Sweet. You got a dog now too?
Yeah, I got a dog, a little doggy.
That's great, man.
A little small German. She's part shepherd, part something else, but she's like kind of a small miniature German shepherd, I guess. Kind of has a little bit of a corgi in her too, so looks kind of funny.
So you said it's on an island, so you guys got to take a boat out there?
Yeah, gotta.
That's pretty sweet.
Only. Yeah, it's nice for the dog. You just let it loose and
Oh, that's wild.
Where it is. Yeah.
How big is the island?
The first
You
size,
can like,
like.
you can like cover it. You can walk it.
Oh yeah. It's not that big. Like it's probably 50 meters by 50 meters, something like that.
That's so cool though. I went to one island. I was dating this girl one time, and it was like a friend of hers. We went to the island for a night, and it was, you know, you boat out there, and it's pretty cool. And they own this little island, a cabin on the island. And how this guy made his money was basically just invented the idea of a catalog for like shitters and urinals for stadiums and event center places. I'm like, who knew there was so much money in that idea? He was just the guy who was like, why don't we take all this and put it in a catalog so people just know where to go, one place to do it. He's like, we got all these shitters and all these urinals everywhere for all these event centers, all these different kinds. This one's pointy, this one's round, or whatever it is for urinals and shitters.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious. I was like, wow, that was literally $1 million idea.
Yeah, and not a shitty idea.
Not a shitty idea. Not a shitty idea, but the shittiest. One of the shittiest.
Yeah. How about you? Got anything going on this weekend?
No, man, I'm back to work, so it's like chill and taking the money, and then picking. When I'm working, it's like pick and choose my battles kind of thing. Pick and choose my little. Sometimes I might wait till the end of the show, and then I'll make a nice, do something, treat myself to something nice, you know.
Yeah.
But when I'm working, I'm just too tired to do anything.
Yeah, that's kind of my reason for not golfing or anything. It's just I'm usually working all the time. So, but I recently hired an assistant brewer, so now my time should be a little easier. Maybe I'll go golfing a few more times.
Oh man, that's super helpful. If that's in the budget, that's crazy.
Oh yeah. That's
great.
I couldn't do it myself anymore, so now we got a second guy, and now my 50-hour weeks are slowing down to 40 hours, which is nice.
Oh shit, that's super nice. If I had the golf, you're pumping out?
And we're pumping out more beer than ever before, so it's all working out.
That's sick. That's sick. If I had access to the golf, I'd probably take up some of that. When I was working at that country club in the Sioux, because I used to golf when I was like 13 at Queensgate and stuff, like all the time.
Yeah, I think we went a couple times. Like
me, you and Bomber went quite a bit.
Yeah.
And but then I didn't golf for a while, but then I got back into it because I could golf at the country club for free. So I would just go and like, you know, try the course out a couple of times. But that was essentially it, pretty much. But I would hit it up.
Not hitting up the Toronto links?
Not at all. Not at all. But I like it. Do you like it?
Yeah, I'm not very good. I just go for the walk, really.
Are you doing any sports there? Like, are you doing ball hockey or shinny or hockey or baseball?
I did ball hockey for a bit, but it was like, we were in like the lowest league, and it was super intense. There was like fights and stuff. I was like, dude, I don't know about this anymore. Me
too. Well, I kind of liked it. I liked it until it got too intense. Like, I did the same thing, and I joined this league just for fun, it was called. But once you get to the championship, it got pretty hardcore. There was fights and elbows to the face.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy shit. I was like, this is not just for fun, but like, we won.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. But yeah, it was cutthroat.
I rolled my ankle pretty bad, and so that was the main reason I stopped playing. But it was also really intense. So I was like,
yeah.
Do that.
You know what's funny though is that playing in the Sioux trained me for playing in Toronto, because I never realized, and I really have like the Strukases and Jerry and all those guys who I used to play, and Nate and Mitch, because they would go so hard every time we played. And just to like try and keep up, it made me a better player when I moved to Toronto. Because when I first moved to Toronto, I was like, oh fuck, Toronto, the big city, there's gonna be so many good hockey players. But that's actually, it's the opposite. It's that there's a lot of people, but there's not that many good players. So if you played with intense people back home in your small town, it makes even me, a goalie, pretty good as a player.
So you were playing out or playing in net?
Oh yeah, I was playing out, which is like the folklore of all goalies. Like once you're
Yeah.
done in
You wanna
net, you play out. And me, I'm actually pretty good because I spent my life watching the game in the net,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And if I stuck with goaltending, I probably could have been decent just due to my size alone, because you can be taught how to be a good goalie and take up space and make the right movements and stuff. But I quit before my size took form or took shape.
Right.
So it's kind of funny, like, I don't know. And even in my lineage too, my papa was like, had tryouts with the Bruins and stuff. So I'm like, oh, it's possible. Like if I, you know, like if I went hardcore, but it's like totally different paths. It's not like the Tyler Kennedy or something where you're essentially born and bred to be playing reps and like work your way straight up through the OHL and blah, blah. My case, if I stuck with it, would have been like this total secret guy, like had to go to college and like worked his way through and finally got selected when he was like 28 or 30 or something, you know.
Which does happen. It's rare, but it does happen. Yeah.
Exactly. But that would have been the scenario, because I wouldn't have figured out, like I didn't even know that you could play hockey for money kind of thing, like as a career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that wasn't, I was just like, this is a sport, but whatever.
Yeah. Just for fun.
Yeah. Oh, those were wild. Just for fun. So your place, I saw you're posting some like a nuckshucks or something that you're building in the backyard at your place.
Yeah, that was it was more for just the joke. The he shook, she shook, we all shook for nuckshucks.
What's the backyard like? What do you guys got going on there?
We got a pretty big backyard. We're on we're on the inside corner, so we're like the pie-shaped yard. So it really fans out, and we got a bunch of big spruce trees back there. Got some gardens. Got a nice little shed.
What do you guys growing in the garden?
Ooh, we got all kinds of stuff. We got spinach, lettuce. We got some jalapenos.
Nice.
We got some zucchini. Oh, we got my prized. Okay, someone gave us seeds for this melon, and it's called the Minnesota midget melon. I'm so excited, and it's like taking off, and there's like a million melons everywhere, and I just love the name, and I'm so excited to share my melon.
What?
The Minnesota midget melon.
What? What is it? It's a seed?
It's like a small, it's kind of the size of a grapefruit, I think. We're going to find out. I don't know how big it gets.
Wow.
But, I'm pretty excited.
Okay, you gotta show that.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little garden episode.
Oh man, backyard variety tour.
Yeah.
Where's that? That's what it can be. It's variety, baby. Man, that's sweet. Jalapenos too. Give me mad heartburn. Never used to, but all of a sudden, anytime it's like pizza and jalapenos, just massive now.
Yeah. It's not good.
It's great. Yo, so I'm probably, or you're probably, if you're growing in the garden, you know what beer to have with certain foods, correct? Or are you, like, you're doing that at home, right? Or no?
A little bit. I generally, when I eat food, I don't drink beer because so like you can have like the synergy effect where certain beers bring out certain flavors. But generally, I like to have my beer on my own, and I find food could detract from the beer. That's how much I like value beer, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
If I'm eating, I want a beer that I don't think about at all. So then I can focus on the food.
You know, I'm the exact same way, and people couldn't understand it. Although you're probably different in the sense where I'm like, if I go to weddings and stuff and I want to kind of get a good buzz on and have a good time, I have trouble eating too much. I don't want to mix. I don't want to get too full with the food. I don't know if that's kind of the same thing that you're talking about, but I just don't mix. I kind of pick one or the. I'm like, I'm either getting wasted tonight, or like I'm having this big meal and being like fatso, and just being like, oh yeah, I'm so full or whatever. You know?
Yeah.
No one
more
could,
like
no one could understand it.
The mixing of flavors. I just don't want to. Some people love it. They're like, oh, it like accentuates things. Where I just want to focus on one thing or the other. I want to focus on good food, or I'll focus on really good beer. But generally not at the same time.
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing. So are you drinking strictly Broken Stick stuff? Obviously you're drinking. What are you drinking right now?
Right now I'm drinking our Helles lager. So it's
Helles?
Helles, which is a German word for pale. So it's a pale lager.
Nice.
So the
Who
German
came up
style
with all
lager.
these names?
The Helles, the Germans did.
No, like
But
who decided on them? Did they already have some of these beers named, or how many new ones do you get to name?
I name most of the beers. I kind of I give options, so it's not like I'm not an owner. I'm the head brewer here. So I give when I come up with a new beer, I give them a few different names I think are cool. But it's up to them for making the final decision to the owners. And
Yeah.
but often I give a lot of detail for the one I want. The ones I don't really want, I just kind of don't give much detail. So I kind of really focus on certain ones, and often those get chosen because they have a nice backstory.
Right. What are some of your like prized, and what are the backstories?
So I have a Saison series, which Saison is like a Belgian farmhouse ale.
Saison.
And Saison.
It's just yeah, it's just fun to say. Saison.
So it's also like this is a very French part of the of Ottawa or of the province.
Of course. Oh my God, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, like
But Saison means season in French. So Saison's a beer style, but it also means season. So they're thinking it's a seasonal. And I'm like, no, it's a Saison. It's a type of beer. So there's a bit of a learning curve, but eventually people started catching on. But anyway, the series, I kind of follow each new season is a different kind of length of day. So we have one in the summer called the Longest Day. So it's released on the Longest Day on June 21st.
What kind of beer is that?
That's the Saison. It's so it's like it kind of has Saisons generally have this kind of wine character to them, kind of like a
really
yeah. They're kind of a catch-all beer. You can put anything. So we have that one in the summer.
What's that? A catch-all? Would you say a catch-all beer?
Yeah. So it's like a lot of things get grouped into the Saison. You can have ones that are sour. You can have ones that are hoppy. And ones are.
Is it kind of like what's that liquor mix that they call when they just kind of pour everything in? Is that the beer version?
Yeah.
Is that the beer version? Is that the Saison?
the
Interesting.
Yeah, the Saison.
Cool.
It could really be anything you want it to be. It's a seasonal beer. So we had that one in the summer, and then in the winter, I made one for the shortest day. I called it the Darkest Hour, and I tried to make a sort of like a cola flavored beer, and it turned out really well. I was scared though, like you never know how it's going to turn out, how people are going to react to it, and people loved it, and it like sold like in no time.
Really?
But you just it
was a limited time thing.
Yeah, so it's only going to come out on the shortest day of the year, and then it'll be usually.
Which is what again?
On December 21st.
December 21st, and it lasts. How long do you leave it out for?
Well, the beer lasted a couple months last year, so there was time to buy it. But
is that how much does, like when you were showing those kegs earlier, or they're not kegs, when you're showing, what are they called? When you're showing fermenters, whatever's holding all the beer.
Yeah.
Oh shit! What was my question about that? I can't even remember what I was just gonna ask.
Just how long the beer lasts, or?
Oh yeah, so if you brew like a full thing of that, yeah, like how long, even if it goes fast, like or slow or whatever, like how much beer is that, or how much does it serve?
So each one of those tanks hold 800 liters, and so it's about 1,600 pints. So of those like tall cans.
1,600. Oh, nice.
Yeah, about
1,600 pints. Nice.
And in general, our beer lasts about 2 months. It stays pretty fresh. Matters on the beer. If it's a stronger beer, it can last longer.
Gotcha.
Some of our hoppier ones, I prefer that it's consumed within a month. After that, it gets to like you just don't get that fresh hoppy aroma and the fresh flavors.
And what was that spritz you said?
That's from the carbonation. So the carbonations just stay throughout the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
But we just add CO2 to the tank. And then
what's your jam? Are you into the darker stuff or the lighter stuff?
Well, I'm into everything. I love lagers. So my big things are session beer. So I like having a lot of beers that are low in alcohol because you can have more of them.
Yeah.
So
what's
today
that?
I brewed English Bitter, which is about 3.5% ABV. So that's like your typical pub ale that you'd find in England.
3.5%. That's like Coors or Canadian?
It'd be a little bit less. Coors Light is 4%. So it's a little bit less.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you like
Nice and
those
light.
because you can just crush more?
Yeah, and they're like, and if you do it right.
How much are you how many polishing? When's the last time you've been on a bender? And who are you having benders with now? God, remember the benders?
I haven't had a. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't had a bender in a while, but
oh my God.
I often have a few pints. I'm not gonna lie, I don't go out much, so it's often by myself, but in a good way, right? I'm doing research for my own beer, but
yeah. So when are you crushing the pints? In the backyard, or
yeah, after work I'll have
something like that?
Yeah, like after work I'll have a beer. Yeah,
you guys got a deck?
Football.
You got a deck, or what's
it's
the
a patio.
backyard?
We have patio stones. So.
And you're barbecuing out there, obviously.
Oh yeah, all summer long.
Are you barbecuing all that jalapenos and everything? All the veggies too and everything?
Sometimes. Like we do the zucchini. Well, once those are grown out, they're kind of small right now, but hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have a few zucchinis we can throw on the barbecue.
Remind me of that midget thing again. Can you tell me again? What's it called?
The Minnesota midget melon. Oh, it's gonna be the biggest.
Man, this is gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be the biggest smallest melon.
That's gonna be trending. This is the biggest piece of shit podcast or whatever. It's like it has no viewers, but that's gonna be trending.
Yeah.
That shit's gonna take off. The Minnesota midget melon. I don't even know what it is. People are.
I don't either. We're gonna find it out. We're gonna find out together.
Yeah, that's the thing.
We'll do the big reveal.
Hot topics. We got a couple hot topics brewing on this podcast so far. Shit, man. This is good.
Yeah, but I'll definitely send you a few beers so you can try out and see what.
I'm definitely a lager man. Lager. I like my yellow golden beers.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not opposed to trying the other ones. I just can't drink lots of them. Like I've had Guinness and I've done those like chugs or whatever with the root beer and all that shit. But I don't know if I'm crushing. Oh, you know what I've loved lately? It's just the crisp. I love crisp. I love a crisp beer. And Muskoka Detour, straight out of the bottle. Yeah. It's got to be out of the bottle. It's got to be cold and crisp and out of the bottle. Okay. And I will settle for a can. But if it's out of the bottle, I could crush. That's one beer now that I could crush more than a 6-pack.
Okay. Yeah, that's a nice beer. I like that one. That's a nice cabin beer. Got nice flavor, but still light.
Yeah, that's one like from like about 3 years ago that I was like, once I caught it, I was like, yeah, this is something. It's just pure crispness. It's crisp. It's the best way I can describe it. If it's cold and like fresh.
Have you tried Bo's Lug Tread?
I've definitely had it.
Okay.
I can't remember though, but I've definitely had it. Yeah,
so
there's a lot of that in Toronto.
Oh yeah. I used to work there. That's where I started my brewing career at Bo's, and I used to drink a lot of Lug Tread. Yeah, really.
Where'd you start that?
I started that
in Rock.
No,
like in Rockland.
They're in Bank Lake Hill, which is another about half hour east of here. So I rented a small cheap apartment, and during the week I'd work there and then drive home on the weekend to live with my family, and then head back out each week. Because it was a 24/7 brewery, so you'd be working overnight, and that was tough to drive home after an overnight shift. So
for sure.
It was about an hour drive, which is a bit of a haul. But I'm sure people do it. I'm sure people do it in Toronto, but
for sure.
Tough for me.
You know what? I've been lucky that I've had a fairly easy commuting life in Toronto. Whereas I've heard, horror stories even from my brother where he was like an hour to work, an hour from work. It just happened. My life was lucky enough to figure out a way that like commuting wasn't, I always kind of worked like close to where I lived.
Okay.
It was always kind of very easy in that sense, in the transportation and commuting, which is perfect for me because I hate public transit. It's disgusting. People are coughing all over their hands, touching everything. And this is even before COVID. I was like, ugh. And I'm huge. I'm huge. Yeah. I'm huge. No matter what, no matter how fat or thin I am, I'm huge. And I am not made for like average built things for like the common man, which is like transit and planes and things like that.
But even like for the average person, those seats are too small in transit. So it's like, that's not made for an average person.
See, I didn't even know that. I don't even know that.
Small person.
You're the first person who's ever been like, these are a piece of shit even for me.
Yeah. Maybe I'm not average. Maybe, I don't know. But like, I'm like, this is for a small human. This is not for everyone.
Yeah. So it was just like, I avoided it. It was actually great because I got to know the city. It was like when I first, I've been here, I think almost close to 10 years, almost about 8 years, I guess, or so, or 9 or whatever. I don't know, close to it anyways. So I walked the city all the time because I was like, transit. It was like, you got to wait for the transit. And I noticed a lot of the time it's like transit really only beat walking by like 10 minutes sometimes. And I was like, just fucking walk, just do it. Like if it was under an hour, and there was times where if it was like an hour and a half, I was like, I'll walk it. I don't even care. Like it's for some reason, it just, things fly by because the city is so active. Like if I was walking an hour and a half in the north, it would feel like forever because it's just like land.
Right.
Yeah. But in Toronto, there's things happening. You got the iPod going if you want or whatever. And it's just like, so
yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, I had to take the bus. I worked at another brewery downtown Ottawa called Three Brewers, and
they've got a couple of those in TO.
Yeah.
I think they're like bars, right?
Yeah. So they're brew pubs. So we brew the beer on site. So I was the head brewer or lead brewer there for a bit before I came here.
Oh, see, like it's not like you did work your way up, but you also worked your way just laterally. I didn't know you had a couple of brew jobs before this.
Yeah. It would be pretty tough to like just walk into a head brewer position. I'm sure people do it, but it's tougher now because now people go to school for brewing. So
no shit.
Actually, the assistant brewer we just hired, he went to school. He went to Niagara College for brewing, so he's fresh out of college.
How many people did you interview for it?
We had tons of like applications from all over the world.
How were they? Tell me. You got to tell me. Can you?
Well, like a lot of them are people that are like, yeah, the beer industry seems cool. Hire me. And I'm like, well, no.
What is that age group? Like 18 to 22?
No, it's older. It's people like they're just like tired of their job. They wanna try something new. But they don't really sell it. They're just looking for a job, really.
You know what's interesting about hiring is you never know which wild card you passed over because they just fucking didn't come through. You know what I mean? Like it didn't translate.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But we got like everything. Like one guy was an aerospace engineer who was like not happy with his job, looking for something new, and I was like, I totally related to that. I was that person. I wasn't an aerospace engineer, but I was a biologist at one point, and I wasn't happy, and I switched careers. I decided I don't like this paycheck anymore. I'm gonna go make no money for a while and learn to brew, and that's what I did, and it worked out. But I totally felt for the guy, right? Like I was like, oh, I get where you're at, and then like I want to help you, but unfortunately, I had someone that was slightly more qualified, and went to school for this and learned has the theory behind them, so it made a little more sense to go that way than someone that just wanted to switch careers.
Oh wow! So you didn't hire the guy who actually hit home in the heart. You actually went with hit
home in the heart. But I keep him.
You went with
the
head.
Back of my mind. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he'll be around.
Back of my mind.
Like you'll keep him. Yeah.
Yeah. If I need someone else, like a little extra help, he's
that's interesting. Yeah. Hey, business is business. You went with the business decision rather than the personal decision.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people are just like people that brew at home, and they're like, oh, I did it at home, and I've been doing it for 5 years, and I want to go pro. I'm like, okay. Essentially that's what I was, but I'm also like, there's a big difference, and it's often sometimes you get that kind of person, and they'll be telling you what to do, and you're like, no. It's like you have to learn how it works first before you can start telling people what to do. So,
gotcha. So I didn't know. Were you doing some brewing at home?
Yeah, I've been doing. Well, I don't do it anymore, but I used to do it for probably about 6 or 7 years before I did about 5 years before I decided to quit my job and get into brewing. So,
it's as much as it's a terrible decision, it's always the best decision to just follow your heart in that scenario, which is I did that when we were all 8-Man Madness. I was at Lakehead, and I was like, what am I doing here? Yes, I'm having a good time, but I'm not following my career heart. And I was like, I love film.
But what were you in at that? You're in
teaching,
right?
which I am. I'm good at that shit. That just even came up today. I was like, and even we were talking about ball hockey. I just came in on that ball hockey team and we went from 0 to winning the championship, basically from me just being like, nice pass, man, way to go. Just filling these lovable losers with confidence. Like they were such a bad team. And then they were doing just me filling them with confidence. They were scoring, guys who would never score goals were scoring goals. And I was like, yeah, way to fucking go. It was just that. That's all they needed. That's all they needed. Just someone there just being just someone there filling them with confidence. Anyways, I forget. Fuck, where was I going with that? I don't remember.
But yeah, you were talking about you were at Lakehead doing something.
Oh yeah, and I bailed. Yeah, and I did 2 years of partying and having a great time, but I was like, what am I really doing here? You know? And luckily I was able to find something close by in Confederation. I was like, I'm gonna take a huge chance. I'm gonna follow my dreams of working in film. I don't know what that entails. I don't know what a diploma in film production entails. That's all I have, you know? But, you know, I'm happy with my life. So, you know, but like, that's not much if you break it down. If you're like, fucking diploma in film production, that's nothing. That's not, this guy doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? But I'm in like a prestigious, fairly prestigious job and like making my way in my career. So, but at the time it was a huge chance. And it was like, and for a long time I made zero money, but all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 years ago, when your job turns into your career, suddenly changes start happening.
You often just need that chance, right? Like, so the degree, maybe that diploma doesn't mean much, but maybe it was a foot in the door to get the chance.
That's all it was. And that's all it was. And it's so true, because the only reason why I got my first gig is because they interviewed me and I had like, they asked me, they were like, oh, so you went to school for film and you're obviously interested in it. I was just like more interested in it than the next person who applied. That's all it was. That's all it was. And it was like the first job and the shittiest job, but from there it obviously grows. You stick with it and it grows. It was a slag. It was a struggle, like anything, you know?
Yeah. There's no glorious, like it's very rare that you get the job that you wanted all your life, the first like crack, right? You got to kind of work your way.
Even in film, and I'm going to make it nowhere in film, but as long as I can just live comfortably, that's where I'm happy. But in film, there's no such. In film, there's no such. It's like a 1% chance of being a prodigy. It's very rare that someone's like knows everything that they're doing, right? When they're like 19 in film. You know, there's very few Richard Linkletters, or like the only guy in Canada right now, the French guy, his name's Xavier or Javier, I don't know. Xavier? I can't remember, but he's a famous Canadian director who's just been like making $1 million movies since he was like 19. He's only like 28 or something now, you know?
That's crazy.
So there's like very few prodigies. Me, I'm going to be struggling to like learn and develop and grow with each failing project, you know?
Yeah. That's important though. That's part of the journey.
It's great. I'm having a blast, but that's why I didn't once you get into film, that's why I didn't corner myself. I'm like, I don't want to just be a location manager. I love acting. I love writing. Like I'm doing some acting stuff on the side when I have time.
Oh, cool.
You know, I'm doing writing as hobbies and stuff like that on the side. I'm directing my own projects on the side to hopefully get paid as a director someday, or hopefully get paid as a writer. I am getting paid as an actor sometimes when I do. That's a lot of fun.
Cool.
The acting thing is a ton of fun. It's because I have no stake in the game. Whereas a lot of people are actors and they're desperate for that gig and desperate for that job. And I found a good agent where it's just like I kind of go out when I can or want to. And it's like I don't need that paycheck, but if it comes, it's nice kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's no
nice approach.
It's helpful. It's helpful for that, because if I was an actor, it's a tough fucking life to be a waiter, to be a waiter and then like need to ask your boss every day, be like, can I leave for this audition for 3 hours? And
can I go chase my dream?
Yeah, go make a fool of myself in front of, because that's really, auditions are hilarious. I've had to do the craziest shit in auditions. And I'm okay with it, because I learned really the truth of acting is just like being able to make a fool of yourself in front of people. And whether they like you, don't, you know, whether you're right fit or not. But that's essentially the risk you have to take.
Right.
Yeah, which I got comfortable with. It took doing some acting lessons at Second City to get comfortable with that.
Oh, cool. So you took some courses and then.
Early on, yeah.
Yeah.
When I said, because I was like 25 or 27, and I was like, I've been fucking working on these movies for so long. Like, I've loved acting. Why haven't I never tried acting?
Yeah.
And then I talked to a couple of friends who were doing it on a professional level, who had like booked gigs and stuff at that time. And they were like, well, maybe you should like create a base and go to like Second City, and they do classes. So you could pay for like a couple of classes and figure it out, you know? And so like I did the appropriate steps, do some classes, make a couple short films, get an agent, start going to auditions, that kind of thing.
Cool.
Yeah. I'll send you one. It's like, I don't have many claims to fame, but it's almost like every commercial I do, because I'm also getting better, but I don't spend that much. I love acting, but I don't spend that much time on it. But every commercial I do, the experience gets better so far. Everyone has gotten better each time. The first one I ever did, the first audition I ever went out for, Dave, I booked. The first like professional audition. And I got cut. And I got cut. And I got cut from the commercial.
Oh no!
Yeah, so it's wild, right? It's like
but you still got paid though.
I still got paid. I could have got paid more if I was on camera, but I still got paid like a base $1,000. You can make a lot for acting. It's ridiculous. I still got paid a good base. But here's the best part: is the most recent one I did and best experience I had. I basically got to play a character like Leatherface from like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was like chasing a guy through the bush, but it was an interstate battery commercial. Okay. Oh, really? So it's kind of like jokey. I'll send it to you. It was kind of like jokey. And it was from 2018. That was like the last time I acted on camera, like where I got paid, because I did, I think one of my own shitty short films in between. But here's the bonus about that is in 2019, they were like, we want to use this same commercial. So they had to like buy out my likeness again. So I got residuals. So that was my first time experiencing that, which was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And one cool thing is like, they actually liked me. They were happy that they booked me. They were happy that I like came and performed and delivered for them. And because we all took like a big photo at the end and all smiles and everything. Like I knew they were happy. You know what I mean? I was oh yeah, I brought it today. I know I brought it. And it was tough. It was tough because I'm kind of shy. So even though I'm an actor and stuff, you know, I'm not the most outgoing with strangers, I would say. I'm cool with you and 8 Man Madness and people I work with and stuff like that. But strangers, I'm kind of standoffish because I don't like trust people until I trust them, kind of thing. Right. Like anyone, I guess. But I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of shy. So it's hard to be like booking a role as kind of like a leading character. There was 2 of us. There was the monster and the guy running from the monster. But like I was the toy. I remember the director saying at one point, he was like, Ryan, get out of the fucking shot. It's like, we want to play with Ian. You know, I was the toy that day because I was in the getup and the mask and had the hook, and I was like really into it and going crazy. So they got their money's worth. You know what I mean? I took it really seriously for how crazy it was.
That sounds fun. Especially if it's like, this is not you're not relying on this. You know, it's kind of a nice fun thing to do on the side. And
it was crazy. It's the only way I kept my agent. It was the only way I kept my agent because most agents, here's how I know I have some talent. I have some talent for acting. It's there. And if you give me the right opportunity and I'm interested, I will dig right in and like give you your money's worth, like I said. But I also have a good agent who a lot of people I'd say probably 1% of people in Toronto have this deal with their agent where I'm not really an actor, but but I'm in her Rolodex. And when she's like, oh, this role looks good, Ian, go audition for this. And she sends me out for it. And the job I'm working for right now is flexible. They know I kind of have many dreams going on. So within the film industry. So as long as it's not taking away from that, I'll squeeze in a late, 5 p.m. audition at the end of the day or something like that, Yeah. But a lot of people, their agent, like you're set and you're stuck with this, or like not stuck with this agent, but it's hard to get an agent for one. And I just have a lucky scenario, I would say, where this agent lets me do my location managing work. and is not sending me out for every bum shit role, you know, like background guy number 13. You know, like some people have to go out for these roles because they got to make their money, and they got to make
be a good
their
role.
agent.
You never know. You never know that.
You got to make
that
their
number
agent
13
money.
could be the one.
You never know. Lucky 13. Or is it unlucky 13? I don't know. That's the roll of the dice, baby. No, so it's just like, I'm in a good scenario. I'm in a good scenario where I can go and do these things. But that commercial was, and it was 2 years ago. That was the last time I did something on camera, but a lot of fun. They get better each time. Like I said, you get cut. Oh, here's the problem, Dave. First commercial I ever booked, I told my parents. I was like, I booked a commercial at my first audition ever. I told everyone. Okay. And then I go home at Christmas after shooting the commercial, after knowing I got cut from it, because they were like, you suck. That's basically what happened.
Really?
Super embarrassed. Oh, well, like more or less. I knew it was bad. Okay, I'll tell you the horrendous experience. So the director liked me, but the client didn't like me, which means the director is a creative. He liked the things that I was doing. The client was like a fish stick company from the States.
Yeah, okay.
And I was supposed to play a fisherman with like the turtleneck and the yellow leather, or not leather, or whatever, fishing suspenders, and like the kind of pipe and like whatever. So I was supposed to do that. And when I went to the fitting, the wardrobe fitting, I could tell this guy didn't like me. He's basically like Heisenberg from Breaking Bad. That's what he looked like, with the top hat.
Really?
Yeah, with the top hat, and like from New York. And he was just like this, like, I'd say 50 or 60-year-old hipster. You know, he was very Heisenberg. And he hated me. I could just tell looking at him, he hated me. And I was just like there in the room of like being judged by 8 people, and he hated me. And then when it came to actually filming my scene, this old lady I was with was such a dick, okay? This lady, she must do so many commercials because she was such a dick, and she thinks very highly of herself. Just the way she was talking on like the shuttle there and stuff, I was pissed because I hated her so much. I was like, this lady thinks she's the shit. Like, this is crazy. I'm like, you're a sweet old lady. How are you so like egotistical? You know, I didn't get it. So the whole idea is that it's like a conveyor belt of fish coming by, and the old lady's there to pick up her luggage at the airport. But this conveyor belt of her luggage doesn't come, and fish come by instead. And I'm supposed to come walking in and be like, oh, fish or fish sticks. I don't even know. In the audition, I picked up a fake bag, and I gave her like a nod and a wink, and I walked out of frame, and that's how I booked it. For some reason, they thought I was the best one who did that. So, and then when we're there filming, it's like this piece of shit airport, and I'm supposed to wheel in this like rickety wooden cart with all these like, wooden crates that are supposed to be filled with fish or whatever. I remember the first AD being like, you got to own it. Walk in like you own it. I'm like, with this rickety cart, I'm like, everything's going to fall over if I push this thing with any strength. And at the time, now I would do it with confidence, where I'm like, oh, you want me to enter with some Pozzebon or whatever? Like, okay, I'll do it. And I don't care. As an actor, I don't care if all these crates go everywhere. You want me to open with Pozzebon? I'll give you Pozzebon, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like, that's my mentality now. But for my first thing, I was like, I was all in my head, and I was like, well, if I push this thing a little bit, like all these like, do they know how rickety this thing is? And like, if I even touch this thing's going to go everywhere. So like, obviously I didn't enter with as much oomph as they wanted. And then they were like, turn camera left or something like that. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm not like an actor. I don't know these stage directions. And all I knew was that it was like backwards, because camera left is like right. Or I was like, I don't know. And I just like, whatever way I chose was the wrong way. And they're like, get out of frame. And they cancel me for the rest of the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was just like, what happened? Like, I'm here to do my best for you, but like, I need some help. Like, or whatever. And they wanted someone who was super experienced. Like, they weren't willing to deal with someone who needed a first timer or who needed help. So I was good enough to book it, but I couldn't deliver on the all Swedish, no finish.
Yeah.
As Nate Dogg used to hammer with. I think that could be that's like my aura, or like my mantra. But yeah, that was hell. And then I went home at Christmas and everyone's like, how was the commercial? And I was like, I got cut. And everyone in my family was like, you're a piece of shit. Why'd you tell us? Why'd you tell us you were in a commercial? You were in a commercial? Like the reaction was like, everyone was like so mad and disappointed, which didn't help with like my huge confidence blow.
No.
I was like, yeah, I got cut, you know, like.
Kind of like that scene in Swingers when they're golfing, and I forget who it is, but he's just like talking about how hard it is.
It's exactly like that.
Like, I'm thinking about taking Goofy.
It's exactly like that. And they even mentioned about calling home. Like, I didn't tell my parents that I got that audition. And I watched it somewhat recently. And it's funny, but you learn those little things. It's really for yourself. It's really for yourself because you can realize the mistakes that could happen in the film industry. And you hear stories about celebrities all the time going to the premiere of a movie with their family, and they get cut out of the, and they weren't even in the movie. They got cut out. So you hear about those. It's kind of like, you know, it's cutthroat. It's a cutthroat industry. It really is. You got to have thick skin. But I learned a little thing for myself, which was just book the role, keep it quiet, go film it, do your best. And, you know, once it comes out, then you can tell people, oh, I did a commercial, or here's this, or whatever. It's the best way to go about it. Just keep everything quiet until it's out. Yeah. It'll be better for you, better for them. Then if you get cut,
you're like,
then if you got cut, you were like, oh, whatever, I got that, you know, I got that little bit of pay, but I got cut, whatever, I don't care. No one knows about it.
Oh, it was a shitty role anyway. I didn't want it anyway.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been. I've gone out for gone out for all sorts of stuff, man. It's a weird business. Weird business. I've had people play you got to be super open
to like whatever, or it's just gonna be really hard to get a role, like.
Oh, for sure. I had so my second role, I nailed the audition, but I think I was too fat at the time, that because they were like, will you wear like a He-Man cross suit? And I was like, well, I guess, like if I got to do it to get the role. And maybe that wasn't confident enough, but I nailed the audition, and I was sick at the time, and I was thinking about not going, and I went in. And this is a guy who worked with someone on Parks and Rec a lot. He's friends with Adam Scott, the director of this commercial. It was a Viacom internet. It was for the States. It was some piece of shit. And I went in for the evil hipster overlord, which is basically like this wrestler who's like, and he's barking all these orders, but he's got like an evil pig, and they wanted him wearing this He-Man cross, which in the end he didn't even wear, and it should have been me in the role, I feel. He ended up wearing like a leather jacket and something, the guy that they chose. And I think even the director had buyer's remorse on the guy that they chose. Yeah. Because I nailed the audition, and I knew I nailed the audition because I did it the first time, and there was 4 guys in the room, and the guy who was filming, obviously like a friend of the director or whatever, after I was done, because I gave it my all. I was like, barking these wrestling orders, and they had the sheet there. And you know how sometimes when you're sick, you perform better?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's come up.
It
hasn't come up. I don't know what's up. I remember one time, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happened a long time ago when me and Bomber were playing baseball. It was fast pitch. And I had this massive migraine. And I remember I just like killed the baseball game. And Steve Baum was like, you should be sick all the time. Or whatever, like one of those things. It's just one of those things where like you feel terrible, but somehow you come through.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I nailed the audition, and I remember the guy who was filming it was like, looked over his buddy like, holy fuck, like if you don't like this, like we've seen 50 people, and if you don't like this guy, you're nuts. And they were like, you know what, that's good. And the director was like, can you try it where you're actually like spewing from the mouth? You're actually spitting spit as you're yelling. He's like, go out there and take 5 minutes. And here's the interesting thing about it. When I was in the waiting room, the actor waiting room, I didn't hear anybody doing their audition. But when I stepped out of the actor room, because I was shouting and spitting, which is how it was supposed to be delivered, people were like, there was like a mini applause from all the like nerdier, like they were like, good job, man. And I was like, oh, that's why I'm going to get it, because no one's losing their shit in there.
Right, yeah.
But here's the thing. So I took my 5 minutes, and which is odd. That means they like you. If they're like, take 5 minutes and come back, please. Think about what we just asked you to do and come back. They let some other jokers through who didn't work. Let me back in. I do my spewing. do the spitting or whatever. They ask me about the He-Man thing. I'm like, yeah, I guess. I leave. I feel great. Okay. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to get this. I get the email that I booked the role. Okay. So I look at it. I'm like, booking. I'm like, oh I'm like, this is great. So awesome. So I show up for the fitting. I see the director. I'm like, oh, hey, I think I booked the lead role at the time. I'm like, oh, hey. And then I'm sitting there waiting, and like a half hour goes by, and he's like, oh, hey, like gives me a nod. He like doesn't really pay attention to me. Half hour goes by, he's dealing with other people. I'm like, this is weird. I'm like, did I book this role? I'm like, what's going on? I look at the email again. I'm like, I booked the role, but I didn't book the role I applied for, or like I auditioned for. I didn't book the role of evil hipster overlord. I booked the role of evil hipster minion. So like I was just one of the people who was like good enough, I guess, that he was like, oh, we'll make that guy one of the minions. He didn't win the role, but he was good enough to be a minion. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize it until a guy walked in who looked just like me, but was in great shape. I was like, when he walked in, I was like, this guy he looks just like me, but he's in great shape. This is weird. And that's when I looked at my email and I was like, oh hipster shit. Minion, piece of shit in the background.
You're like, oh, that's my stunt double. Like, oh, yeah.
Exactly. I was the piece of shit. They're just punching me in the face. I'm like, oh, I didn't know what I signed up for. Oh, hilarious. Like, he was a good guy and everything, but his acting wasn't good enough. He might have had the look, but his acting wasn't good enough. That's what I mean about, I think the director had buyer's remorse. That was the second one. Third one got a bit sweeter. It was a Timberland Boots commercial. Ooh. And then the fourth one was where I was a bit more featured and I had some lines and I actually like earned it. You know, like I booked the commercial by earning it, putting in the time, knowing that I had the best decisions or choices or whatever. That's what acting comes down to a lot, is choices.
Yeah, that's sweet. But you have to learn. You have to learn it through that process, and then
you got to learn it. You got to learn it. So what happened was, and it was really easy how I booked it. I can't believe no one else booked it, because it said right in the information that they gave you that it's like a scary monster who has like a not scary voice. And everyone went into the audition room without even reading those directions, and they were like, "Arr." And I went in. I made the choice of kind of being like light about it. Yeah. I went Southern light. So I kept him in the South, but I made him light. So he's like, oh, hey, everybody. So picture the guy in the mask and all this like butchering murder. And just be like, oh, hi. So once I figured out, once I like got the lightness down of like the words and like was able to perform the audition, and then I booked the role, and then I got nervous. Then I got super nervous. So I was like, oh my God, now I have to deliver on this stupid character I created. And so I basically said, the only way I'm going to feel comfortable playing this guy in front of a lot of people is if I can learn how to talk like him in everyday life to an extent. So I went beyond the script of the words that I knew I needed to say. Because I said, what if they ask you to do something random on the day and you don't know how to talk like the guy in other words, in full sentences? That's what scared me. That's what I mean, where like everything, I just got scared all of a sudden. I was like, oh my God, now I'm going to be on TV. I need to perform and deliver for these people. It's super scary.
Were you like living in character, like day to day, like going to the grocery store?
No, I put in time. No, it was all home. It was all home. Oh my God, I couldn't do it out. I got room ready. They call it getting room ready. And
right.
But the thing is once you leave your room, you have to go beyond room ready. You have to break out of the room ready shell, but you at least have to get room ready to a certain extent, which is performing alone in your house in front of a mirror kind of thing. Right. And that's essentially where I got room ready, comfortable. I was talking at home. It was more so I was just narrating things that, oh, I'm going to do this now. Oh, I'm going to grab a little beer from the fridge. Or I was just narrating things and getting comfortable with the voice, because it's hard to do that voice in front of 30 or 40 people. It was hard for me to get comfortable with it, even with myself at home, you know? Right. So, and now you're getting paid money to do it. So it's kind of funny. The people were from Dallas, oddly enough. I found out at the end of the show. I wish I could have talked to the clients and worked in some like Dallas Stars tickets or something. I'd be like, hey, I'm coming to Dallas. You guys want to hang out? Because they actually loved me. They loved me.
Oh, really?
here's the weird thing is when I auditioned, here's the trippy thing. Here's the trippy thing about auditioning. So I made that choice to talk light, okay? When I went in the audition room, the head audition guy who I've auditioned for a couple other times, but haven't booked through him, and also made a fool of myself in front of him other times too, he knew I did it right. But his assistant, when I did the light voice, but his assistant was like, you know, you're supposed to be playing Scary Monster, right? And that would totally fuck me up if I didn't have more confidence in my role than what that assistant would have made me second guess because he didn't understand the role. And I was like, yeah, I know. I like in more words or less, I was like, I'm the actor here. Okay. Like you don't need to tell me, buddy. And I kept with the light voice and I got the call back. And I knew I was going to get the call back because I felt good about it. Sometimes there's a weird thing in acting where sometimes you can leave and be like, I feel great and never get a call back. But every time I know how I performed. I'm very good judgment of myself. Yeah. And I can leave there feeling great. And usually when I leave feeling great, I book the role. And I got the call back. And at the call back, I did the same. It's all fucking mental too. You got to be prepared, but it's mental. When you're in that room, I was fucking zoned in. I wasn't paying attention to anyone else. I had a big fucking smile of confidence on my face the whole time. I was like, yeah, you know why? Because this is what I did the first time I came in for the audition. I just smiled and I was more confident than fucking everybody in the room.
So there was a bunch of people at your callback.
Oh, because there's 30 people around on the callback.
Okay.
The first is 100 or 150.
So the first is just like you cut down to your 30-man roster, and then you got to go in.
Exactly. Yeah, and you even have an idea of who the top 5 are from that 30, but you're going to give some more people a chance to shine. Yeah. And I'm non-union, and it was a union commercial. And when I went last on my callback audition, I didn't realize it until after. But afterwards, I was like, something was fishy about me going last. And it wasn't until I booked the commercial officially that I realized the guy I auditioned with was the guy who actually booked the commercial. So they knew ahead of time, who are the 2 best guys? We're going to put them last together and see if they shine together. Yeah. And they saw everybody else first, which is normally if you're non-union, that is kind of the way you do go last. But I think the guy I was with was union. So it kind of said something for me. When I was very last, because I've gone near the last before, but I was very last. And then when I walked in, I had the smile on my face and I didn't really make eye contact with the 5 people judging me in the room, but I was just like, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah. And I could see they're smiling. I was like, they're smiling. They liked my audition tape. I know. So I was like in good. And then they were like, oh, and then they threw some improv shit on me. And I was like, this is exactly what I prepared for. And I was still stumped. I was still stumped in that moment. They were like, oh, ask him a question because you hop in the car together and you're in the whole outfit. And you were chasing, and you're like, "Let's go, take me somewhere. Where are you gonna say to take me?" And I was like, "Oh my god," because you're just in a blank. You're thinking about so much shit, Dave.
Yeah.
At once.
How do you know about that? Like, yeah. What do you?
Yeah.
What do you
and
say?
I was just like, and well, honestly, I thought of it at the very last second. I maybe had 10 seconds to think before we kind of hopped into the scene, and I thought of it at the very last second, and I said hockey practice. It was the only thing that jumped into my head. I don't know why. It was great though. And because I said hockey practice, hockey, and they're American. And it was just like, I was like, can we move this along? I got to get to hockey practice. And they loved it. They ate it up or whatever. So, and that's kind of how it happened, but it's tense, man. It's intense. It's like really, it's really funky, crazy. The whole time I'm like under pressure, but like there's weird little things. I don't know if the same things happen to other actors, but there's weird little things that during and afterwards, I'm like, that helped. That helped. Me being in there fucking smiling and knowing exactly what I was going to do in there kind of thing. Because there's been other times where I'm like, I'm not right for this role.
Yeah. That'd be tough.
You know? And just things like that.
You don't have the confidence at that point when you're like,
no.
Yeah.
I'm not right. And it's like, you can't figure it out. You know you're going to go make a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
I've had some bad ones. Oh, man, I've had some bad ones. I've had ones where like, go ahead.
I remember your idea for Canadian Idol. You wanted to pour some sugar on me. It was a total joke edition, but like you just wanted to go in there and start like putting honey all over you.
Yeah. But it needed to be a secret. They couldn't know that I was doing that. I had to like hide
Right.
it in the back of my pants or something. Just be like, pour
Right.
some. They're like, sir, we get the literal joke reference, but we hate you. Please leave.
Maybe you didn't hear me. Pour some sugar on me.
It's like, I thought of that joke when I was 13.
Yeah.
Oh man, brutal. All right, Davey boy. This was fucking great, man.
Yeah, we
I'll
covered
chop
a lot
this
of
up into
a lot of
something.
ground.
Oh, for sure. And I think we got some good stuff we can talk about next time too. We had a couple cliffhangers.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
got the secret beer. The secret
beer.
beer that we've been talking about that's coming out. I want me some of that. I'm ordering it. I don't care. I'm ordering it.
Yeah.
And
So that'll come out like September long. So we'll have to do like a September maybe taste test. That'd be cool if we both had it. We can both
for sure.
taste it.
I want to order it. I want to order it to multiple 8 men who want to partake.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like I added some of this stuff up. I want, once Zucker gets some time, he's hopefully going to be crushing some burgers for me and doing some reviews.
Awesome.
It's like not much. I can cut them
Yeah.
off as business expenses and that's that. But I think it could be, I don't know, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm totally down.
I want to try some of this Broken Sticks. So what would you suggest for Broken Sticks for the lager that I like? Do you have a couple different?
Well,
or a Pilsner, I guess. I don't know too much about beer, but it's basically like I like the golden beers.
Yeah. So yeah, September we'll have the New Zealand Pilsner coming out. That's our next lager, and then after that we have another one. It's called the Ontario Lager. It's basically like your basic kind of like a Bud Light with a little more flavor, but use all Ontario ingredients. So we call it the Ontario Lager.
I'd
comes
like
out really
that.
nice. But yeah, it's about 4%, I think.
So how should I order? Where should I order? Brokensticks.ca?
Yeah, brokenstick.ca. You can order online. We have to also contact me to ship it to you. So
I have to contact you?
Yeah, we don't ship around Ontario. We only do delivery in Ottawa area.
You guys do? Gotcha. So you are a literal backyard brewing company.
Yeah, and actually we've actually shut down our delivery service for the next little while because we can't keep up with the demand. So we're just focusing on that little fridge outside. That's where you can get beer if you want to in the area. You can come in, grab your beer, take it home.
That's wicked, man.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, but it'd be nice to have a nice stockpile so that we can get back to
So the delivery is strictly a COVID thing.
Yeah. That kind of kept us in business.
So you guys were doing the delivery thing before? People want some beer. No?
We never did the delivery until COVID, until we had to. It was always, if you wanted beer from Broken Stick, you'd come to the brewery, to the restaurant, and you can pick it up.
Yep. So it's literal backyard. It's like you got to come here. That's nice.
And then we got the COVID bump. So our sales went up by 400%, and I just
400.
Yeah, we were doing pretty good before, and then it just went way above, and I just couldn't keep up anymore. So wow. April was the craziest month. The most beer we've ever sold in April. It was nuts.
Isn't it so crazy? I almost hate to admit it, but COVID was slightly depressing because you just had to stay in, and you're hearing all this shit from all over the world. Bad news.
Oh, yeah.
But luckily it didn't hit me too hard. It sounds like it hit you in a positive way to an extent. You know what I mean? Your business is flourishing, and it's just so crazy that so many people get hit so hard, and other people just how it affects everyone different.
Yeah. Some businesses are closing down because of it.
Yeah, some are completely staples. There's been Toronto, but also I was okay, if you're a fancy Toronto restaurant or whatever establishment, and you can't survive from business losses of a month, you need a new manager. That's what it comes down. You're living month to month, that's bad.
How razor thin are those margins? Yeah,
exactly. You gotta be a bit better at that.
Yeah,
so I didn't have too much. I was how badly do you want to be in the restaurant business? No, we're just making it by every month. The hot topic, the Drake Hotel, baby, or whatever shut down. They're just shimmy shaking every month. Oh, we're doing great. It's we're just making it by.
It's what's your business strategy? Well, I just kind of do this for a bit.
Month to month, baby. We're just making it. But we look like
All
we're
right.
having a great time. It's all over stuff. That's what I'd be like, you're closing. What do you mean? Like, you haven't. So I didn't have too much, what do you call it? Sympathy, I guess, for some that I was reading about. I was like, you're closing, like you're closing. Get it together. You can't survive. Exactly, like you said, your profit margins are so razor thin. Like you're like, oh, 1 month and no business, we're done.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy, but.
But you never know. They could have been investing in something new, and like they needed that month to make it to the next month, and then like it just hit at the wrong time. I couldn't imagine like trying to open a restaurant and then COVID hits, and you're like, you're probably cash strapped. You have no money, and then you don't know when you're going to open. You put so much money into it. And
you know what? You're absolutely right. It's true that, and I don't know personally, but I hear, and I even read about stories like Robert De Niro. Anyone who's involved in a restaurant apparently has the most overhead of just like losses. Like people are stealing utensils. People are just, whatever's happening. Things are going just, like just all this missing overhead and money that just kind of. So I kind of get it. Yeah, I get it a little bit for sure for restaurants. Like you said, I was thinking about getting into the stock market right before it hit. Before it hit.
Oh man.
And thinking about putting in decent amount of money, not for many people, but for myself. I was like, maybe I'll put in this little chunk of change. I would have fucking, because I was watching it, man. I was looking at my Yahoo fan, and I was like, whoo.
Apparently gold's where you should invest right now. It's going, well, not now. Now it's really high, but for a while, everyone started taking away their stocks from other places, and just when there's bad times, you invest in gold, apparently. So it's like the highest value it's been in a long time.
I thought I had it cornered. I thought I had smarted them, but what I was thinking basically was, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
So I basically said, like, what are all like those white, rich politicians in Washington doing? And I just researched what they've been doing for the past 5 years, what stocks they've been getting into, found all those. But then realized once I was getting into it, my advisor was like, yeah, those are blue chip stocks, and you essentially need to like spend $1 million to get 50,000 shares so you could actually make money. Because if you just buy one share at like $200, you're not gonna make money. I was like, oh, I understand stocks now.
You're like, I don't want to spend it all. Sir, maybe you would like to go to one of our smaller denomination tables.
It's like, it's just some guy outside with like a cardboard box, like says stocks, money.
Yeah,
like,
we got
maybe like a secondary option. Woo! That's pretty much like, I thought I did my research, didn't understand the game. Did my research, didn't understand the game. Because once I got there, I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense, or else I'm definitely not the first person who's like, let's just follow what the white, rich, corrupt politicians are doing. That was my whole mentality. I was like, if you can't beat them, join them. I don't like these guys, but I like what they're investing in.
Yeah, I like what they're doing.
Because they control the world. So if they're like, hey, let's invest in gas and let's change everything to make gas positive, or whatever it is. You know how sick they are? So it's actually sick that I was like, let's make money off the world's corruption. And don't incorporate, Dave. Turns you into cold-hearted, sick businessman. Not even. I think I'm probably the most legitimate businessman out there.
Well, you always start legitimate, but then, you start taking money under the table, and the next thing you know, you're
it's corrupt. Honestly, it's so hard for someone who, I'm kind of business by default. I don't want to be here, but I'm here just because it was the right time to do it, kind of thing. And it was kind of stupid not to. But all these people I talk to, corporate banks, all these things, I have such detest for them when I speak to them. And I even tell them sometimes too. And they, depending on like which level they're at or who I'm speaking to, they get it. Like at one point I was like, I was talking to this credit card company. I was like, well, what do they care? I'm like, the bank's just going to claim, like, what do they care about this fraudulent whatever. And I'm like, the bank's just going to claim their insurance money. Everyone's going to get paid out of this except for me or something like that. The guy was like, yeah. Hear where you're coming from. It's like, this call's being recorded, so I can't say what I actually think, but you're on the level, buddy. So I'm not, whatever. Gotta watch what you say. Sometimes I get in trouble sometimes because I just say what I think. I say what I think, and 50% of the time it works for you, and 50% of the time it doesn't. So. But Davey boy, I've hijacked this conversation about talking about bullshit for the last half hour. I've been talking, you've been listening.
It's been good.
Yeah. Oh man, this was such a blast. So how am I going to get this booze? Do I gotta go through you personally, or
yeah? Send me a message and I'll hook you up.
To your email?
Yeah, just send me an email.
Yeah, and then I can do a transfer or something like that.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Sweet.
I can send you an invoice. There you go.
That's perfect. Yes, and I'll give you the information for that. That's beautiful. I actually talked to my entertainment accountant, and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, like starting this podcast thing. She's like, oh, I love podcasts. I'm like, yeah, well, it's I hate podcasts, so it's a little bit different. It's more of a variety show. As soon as I said that, she was like, ugh, I fucking hate this guy. She loved me, and then she hates me. Hey.
That's all what podcasts are for.
Well, let me ask you, do you like podcasts?
For the longest time I wasn't super into them, but I like the Steve Dangle podcast. That's pretty good one. But that's just that's three guys just hanging out talking hockey, and I like that.
Yep.
I
was never into it. You do, eh?
Yeah. So my commute here to work is about 25 minutes. So I usually pop on a beer podcast. And you just pick up little tips about different beers. You just pick the brains of different brewers, what they're doing to get certain kind of flavors.
For
so
sure.
Every once in a while, I'll have that eureka moment on the way to work. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta try that.
Where are those pods coming from? The States, Canada?
Mostly the States. Canada, there's not too many for Canada. There's a few. There's someone out of Montreal and Toronto. There's a couple. They're pretty funny. I think they're called Beer and Other Shit. Beer and Other Shit.
Beer and Other Shit?
BAOS.
Cool. I never heard a beer podcast. That's pretty cool.
A lot of them out there, you just drink the beer and you're like, oh, this is really good, or it's really bad, or whatever. You just do a review. But the one I usually listen to is interviews with brewers or brewery owners, and just how sometimes more business side and sometimes more beer producing side. It's just interesting, their perspective on how things work, and yeah.
For sure, man. Well, really what it comes down to is if those people are honest enough to tell you about their failures, to make you better before you have to go through what they went through, that's how you gain a subscriber or follower or something. Is oh, this person gave me some useful information or something like that. That's how you gain
someone gave them advice, right? They didn't just be this person, this giant. You're standing on the shoulders of giants that paved the way for you, right? So you just need to the more open people are, the better. We'll all have better beer that way.
For sure. Fuck, man. This was great.
Yeah.
Can't wait to try that shit. So much more. I feel like there's still so much more shit to talk about, but we should probably go.
Yeah, I gotta do groceries. I gotta get home. My wife's like, where's your groceries?
Oh my God.
My dog's like, where's my dad?
Oh my God. Okay, buddy. Well, I'll clip this together. I think maybe this weekend or something, or hopefully next week. Hopefully soon. I got time. Clip it together, send it to you.
Sounds good.
Sweet. Okay, brother. We got to cut it off for good. So have a good night. Talk to you soon. This was awesome. Thank you so much. Take care, buddy. Davie Cal, the Daveness.
All right. See you, man.
Thanks, brother.
I don't know how you turn this off. I'm stuck.
You're going to stop recording. Let me out of here. I don't know
Oh,
how I
there's a
got
leave.
in there.
There's a
I
leave
don't know
button.
how I got in this nutshell.
All right.
Leaving the
Your
meeting.
pause.